This is the G-Force T7 foldable e-bike, which has some very impressive specs, including a monster-sized battery. Is this better than most other bikes? Is this the bike for you? How well does it perform? Stick around and continue watching to find out. Welcome back. Now, G-Force is a company that I've never worked with before. I first would like to thank them for reaching out to me and giving me the chance to work with them. They actually do have a few different models of e-bikes available, and I selected the T7 for one primary reason. That's because it's a type of hybrid e-bike. The reason I say that is because it's not only foldable, which makes it easier for transport like the Engwe Engine Pro and JCon e-bikes, but it's also a long-distance performer like the Anioka e-bike that I also reviewed. My plan in this video is to do a top speed test, hill climb test, and overall performance test, including comfortability. But before we do all that, let's go over the specs and features of the G-Force T7. For starters, I do like the color package on this bike. It is black with the blue and white accents and the white stripes on the tires. Before we get into the finer details, I do want to just tell you right off the bat about the main selling feature of this bike, and that is the massive battery that sits right there behind and beneath the seat stem post. That is a really big, heavy duty and heavy 48 volt 60 amp hour battery that powers a rear 750 watt motor that peaks out at 1300 watts, and this is estimated to give you 110 miles plus of range. Now, of course, that range is dependent on the rider's size, terrain, and pedal assist use. Coming over here to the handlebars, we do have rubber grips. Left hand side thumb throttle. Beneath that is your electronic horn button. You do have your control module here, which does look a little bit different from other ones. We do have a plus and minus here for your pedal assist modes, two inner buttons, and a lower front button. So you long press that one to turn it on. The screen does come on, and it does show your battery, miles per hour, pedal assist mode, 1, 2, and 3. This only does have 3, which is different from most other bikes that has 5, and we'll touch more on that later on when we are riding the bike. And down here is your trip, and if you press the upper inner button, you can cycle through odometer, max speed, average speed, amp hours, and then back to trip. The button below that is your headlight, so the screen does dim, the headlight icon does come on, and you do have a 4 LED headlight, which is plenty bright, and on the back you do have a nice bright tail light slash brake light. With the powered on, that's your electronic horn. Do have adjustable height handlebars. You can raise or lower them. Right hand side is your 7-speed Shimano gear system. Stopping power is hydraulic disc brakes. Coming down below that, you do have your latching mechanism for the handlebars that do fold down for when you are folding the bike in half. And down here on the frame, of course, is your frame latching mechanism for unlocking the frame to fold the bike in half, as well as the pedals that do fold in half as well. Just makes a little bit easier for transporting. Now, the frame does have a slot, an open slot for a battery. It is hollow, but there's no battery in there, and it's not wired up for a battery. It's just the design, because some bikes like this do have a battery inside the frame. This one does not. So when you do fold it in half, you will see an empty space, but the only battery is the main battery here behind and beneath the seat post. Now we do have 20 by 4 inch wide fat tires, front and rear suspension. Coming standard with the bike are front and rear fenders, and a heavy duty rear cargo rack. You could put saddlebags on here, a storage tote, whatever you like. The bike does weigh in at 79 pounds. It's not super light, but it's not overly heavy, but it is adequate weight. A lot of that weight though does come from the battery, but if you're looking to fold this bike up and transport it, keep that in mind. It is 79 pounds, but the bike itself has a payload of 400 pounds, so it can handle either heavier riders or a lighter rider carrying a lot of extra cargo or weight with them. Of course, if you would like to get more details and information and the latest pricing, there will be a link down below in the description for that exact bike and the G-Force website, which does have other models available. Behind me though, we do have a hill This is going to be our hill climbing test. We're going to do that right now. After that, we do have a nice straightaway over here on the trail. We're going to go 0 to top speed on throttle only. And then we're going to do an overall performance test where I'm going to talk to you about the pedal assist modes, because this bike does operate slightly differently from most other bikes I've reviewed. It's not a bad thing, it's just something different, something to be aware of. And at the end, I will share both my pros and cons. But right now, let's do the hill climb test. Now, I will tell you, I'm not expecting this to be a great hill climber. Based on the weight of this bike, I'm not expecting it to be incredible for hills. But I'm going to give it the best chance possible. I'm going to be going throttle to start, maybe even holding throttle the entire way. I am in gear 1, which I may shift to 2 or 3, and I'm going to get some speed going. Momentum is going to be my friend for a hill climb. I know this won't climb from a dead start right beneath the steep hill, but right now, before the grade, I'm about 30 to 40 yards away. So let's see how it does. Put it in 2, I'm still doing throttle, keeping the speed going. Accelerating, approaching the hill now, keeping the throttle on, and now I'm pedaling. Still going, still pedaling, slowing down, still holding the throttle down, still pedaling. We're averaging 9 to 10 miles an hour, and we actually made it. That really surprised me. I didn't think we were going to make it. Now, hills never come through on camera. I did start down there between the 2nd and 3rd pole, and I've climbed this hill before on other e-bike reviews, and I had my doubts, but it actually did it. But I gave it the best chance possible. I gave myself enough distance to get up some speed, some momentum. I had it on gear 2 for the shifting, held the throttle down the entire way, and pedaled on the hill. Slowed down to about 7 miles an hour, but I still climbed the hill. So this is capable of some hills if you plan and prepare. If you get your speed up, get the momentum going, you'll climb most hills. If you're doing it right at the base of the hill from a dead stop, most likely it's not going to do a really steep hill. Coming back down, we're going to see how the brakes are. Yeah, plenty of stopping power. I could lock up the brakes if I wanted to. So let's head on over and do our top speed test. Right in front of us, we do have a nice long straightaway. Hopefully that's enough room. If not, we're going to keep going. We're going to do a top speed test. 0 to top speed, throttle only. So here we go. Okay, 10, hitting 20, 25. You also see the power indicator, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, and a brake check. Whew, that's cold on the face. We hit 33 miles an hour, throttle only. Impressive top speed. Now there's something I want to point out that I've noticed with this bike, and I don't think it's a bad thing, it's just something I have noticed. But when you do accelerate with the throttle only from a dead stop, the motor makes like a stuttering sound. And it does it for about maybe 2 seconds and then it stops. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now. You can hear like it seems like it's almost like revving up, but it's almost like a stuttering or like a ramping up. It doesn't affect the performance, and I don't know if the other bikes do it by G-Force, but this one, I have noticed it, but it hasn't affected it in any way for the times I've been riding and testing it. But I just wanted to point it out that when you do come from a dead stop and give it throttle, the motor does kind of take about 2 seconds to start going and stops making that sound. I do want to talk comfortability of this bike. Now, this bike is a really comfortable bike for a couple reasons. Number one, the seating position is comfortable. you're not hunched over, you're not stiff, and having the adjustable height handlebars allows you to get the extra comfort. Aside from that, the front and rear suspension does aid in it, as well as the fat tires, but the seat, I think, is the best part of the comfort. The seat, I would give this a 4, I'll even say a 4.5 out of 5 stars for a seat rating. It's wide, it's plush, it's comfortable. I could definitely feel that you could ride this bike for a couple hours and not get that sore stiff spot on your rear end that you get on some other seats. So it's a comfortable bike for all day riding. I don't think most people would have an issue, whether it's with the arm reach, the arm height, or the suspension, or the seat. It all works together and it makes for a really comfortable ride. On top of that, it's a well-balanced bike. I mean, when I did the top speed test at 33 miles an hour, there's no shakes, no wobbles. And here, doing hands-free, no issues at all. It's a nice, stable, well-balanced bike. Oh, look at it. Delaware Lackawanna. The one thing I do want to mention that's slightly different from other e-bikes I've reviewed is the pedal assist modes. This does have 3 pedal assist modes. Every other bike I reviewed does have 5. And what I've noticed is that when pedaling, especially from a dead start, that you can't get top speed through the pedal assist by pedaling. To get top speed, you have to use the throttle. So when I pedal in pedal assist 3, say in gear 7, and give it all I have, it'll top out around 21 to 23 miles an hour. That's all it gives. To go faster, I have to use the throttle. Now, if I use the throttle and go faster, say 25, 28, even 30 miles an hour, from there, I can let off the throttle and continue pedaling, and for the most part, it will maintain that speed. So, most of the power is given to the throttle. Now, I actually reached out to G-Force because I was curious about this to see if that was correct how it works. And with the power output, and they told me that you can't actually go into the submenu and adjust the power output to the 3 different pedal assist modes. I haven't done that. This is bone stock, how it came from the factory, but you do have the option to go into the submenu and adjust the power ratio for each of the pedal assist modes. That may or may not give you more power, more speed through pedaling, but the option is there. But for me, if I want to go faster, I just use the throttle. So if you want to use this bike as a mostly throttle e-bike, you certainly can do that. You're going to get most speed with the throttle, and with your long range that this bike offers, you could definitely go for a long time just using throttle. But you can pedal if you want to, and pedaling definitely is encouraged when climbing hills. This also does have cruise control. If you keep the throttle engaged for at least 5 or 6 seconds, it does engage automatically, and it will maintain the speed. Otherwise, if you want to disengage it, you can either touch the brakes or touch the throttle, and cruise control will disengage, but that does come standard, automatically turned on when you do get your T7 bike. After doing those higher speed runs, got a little bit chilly out there. This bike is a lot of fun. I do want to share with you my pros and cons of this bike after not only riding it today for this video, but after riding it for a few days, getting used to it, because there's a few things I noticed that I want to pass on to you. Starting off with the cons first, the biggest con for me is the way that the battery is removed. Every time you want to remove the battery, the seat stem or seat post has to be removed as well. I think it's kind of just a nuisance, more of a pain in the butt than anything else. If you don't plan on removing the battery and charging it where it's at, then it's not a concern. But if you are looking to transport the battery inside or just remove the battery for charging each and every time, you will have to remove the seat stem to do so. There is a way to alleviate that, and I'm surprised they didn't do so, because I'll put the model on the screen, but it's a Highboy bike that I reviewed that had a similar design with the battery like that, but the seat actually had a latch and tilted forward, and that allowed enough clearance to remove the battery. If they implemented that, that wouldn't be an issue, but I do think that is a bit of a concern if you are looking to remove the battery each and every time, that the seat has to be removed as well. But to some people, it may not be a concern, but for me, it's something I wanted to point out. The second thing that I would like to see that's not on this bike is that this does have a large battery, large capacity, a lot of output, but there's no USB ports anywhere on the bike. I even confirmed it with the company. A lot of other bikes, not everyone, but I will say Engways, I believe even maybe possibly Highboys, Jayceons, Aniokis, they do have a USB port either somewhere behind the screen or on the side of the control pad. And that allows you to either charge your phone, charge a light, a speaker, whatever you want. But having a large battery capacity like this, they should have had a USB port for at least your phone. I think that should come standard on most bikes that have a fairly decent sized battery. That's as far as the cons go. What I want to say about the pros and the good: number one, it's a very respectable range. A bike like this, which does look similar to like the Jayceons and some others out there, and those bikes typically get maybe 30 to 60 miles range. This gets over 100 miles range, again dependent on certain circumstances, but this is going to get much farther range than a lot of other bikes that look similar. Number two, it's a super comfortable ride. The seat, as I mentioned, I give it a 4.5 stars out of 5. It's plush, it's soft, really wide, so it's not going to be going up your you-know-what. It's going to really give you some support when you're riding for a longer duration. That combined with the adjustable height handlebars, the front and rear suspension, the fat tires, it all works together. It's just a comfortable ride. Secondly, or next I should say, is that it's a stable ride. Going at 33 miles an hour, which is fast on a bike like this or any type of bicycle, there is absolutely no shakes, no wobbles, no nothing. This is probably the smoothest bike I've ever ridden at that type of speed. I've ridden other bikes that go nearly as fast or faster, but there was either like an out of round sound with the tire, or the motor made a funny sound or something else. But this is solid, it's quiet, it's stable. I had no concerns going that fast. I felt like I could go even faster. I felt in complete, total control, and the brakes stopped great. I mean, there was nothing, no flaws at all. It's just a really well-made bike, heavy duty, and I also do like the really large rear cargo rack. So whether you want to put on, like I said, saddlebags, a storage container, a milk crate, and you could carry up to 400 pounds, this is going to be a great bike for long distance rides on the trails, commuting into urban areas, whatever you want. This bike is going to be an all-around great bike. As mentioned, there will be a link down below in the description with more details and the latest pricing of the T7. And hopefully by now you know if this bike is possibly the one for you. If it's not, G-Force does have other models available, so check them out on their website. And also, again, special thanks to G-Force for reaching out to me and allowing me the opportunity to share this bike with all of you. I'm going to get on and enjoy the rest of my day here riding this bike. And I just want to say, if you want to see more or other e-bike reviews, check my playlist down below as well. Otherwise, take care, safe riding, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.